Hello, friends. This is the Netarts Friends Church podcast. We are Jesus people, Kingdom of God people, welcoming, yearning, sharing. And we're glad you're connecting here with us. We'd love to connect in person as well. If you're inclined to support this podcast or for more information, just hop on over to netartsfriends.org. That's netartsfriends.org. Let's jump into today's sermon. Today we are doing something a little different than our series through the Gospel of Luke. There are Friends churches, Quaker churches throughout the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, that are all doing a focus on evangelism this fall. And we are joining in that focus by talking about evangelism today. The ancient biblical word is quite literally goodnews-ing, which I actually prefer to evangelism. Jesus was all about goodnews-ing. It was his mission. He proclaimed good news, he announced good news, he embodied good news, he was good news. And people didn't only hear about the good news from him, they experienced the effects of the good news from him. He started his ministry saying, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." Our word evangelism, with all of its baggage, is connected to this word good news. Now, evangelism, that's a word that makes a lot of people uncomfortable for a lot of different reasons. The word evangelism can conjure up all kinds of thoughts of social anxiety, whether you're on the giving or the receiving end. Now, if all things church and Christianity are completely new to you, and you're thinking, what is that word evangelism? What is that? And maybe you're trying to place it and saying, is that where religious people try to convince and pressure you to believe what they believe? Well, if that's the image that's in your mind, then it makes sense that might make you uncomfortable. And you might be thinking, look, I'm trying to figure this all out for myself. And when I need help, I'll ask for it. Please do not pressure me. It's possible the word evangelism makes you uncomfortable because you don't want to put a bad taste in other people's mouth. And you're worried that you might do that if you try any kind of evangelism. And that could be why you steer clear of evangelism. Maybe for your whole life, you're like, I just don't get into whatever that is. For some people, they associate evangelism with hellfire and brimstone preaching. Their experience of evangelism is someone trying to scare them into heaven. It's a communication method based in condemnation and fear, and none of it just doesn't sound like good news. So that's the discomfort for some people. For others, the word evangelism conjures images of a terribly awkward conversation at the door with someone you don't know. There's a knock at the door, you open it. There's a religious person, they're trying to push a tract into your hand. They're saying, if you died tonight, would you go to heaven or hell? And you're thinking, wait a minute, I don't know you. Aren't these questions kind of personal? And you can't end the conversation or get the door closed fast enough. For some people, the word evangelism conjures images of someone who thinks it is their job to convince regular people of how bad they are. It conjures up images of a God who's ready to punish everyone eternally for whatever they did wrong, unless they let that God punish his son. And the entire thing kind of makes your skin crawl. For some people, their discomfort with the word evangelism comes from the difference that they see between the Jesus of the Gospels and American cultural Christianity. They read in the Gospels about a Jesus who talked about making disciples, and this is the Great Commission, and talked about the kingdom of God. But then they see American cultural Christianity focused on trying to get people to pray a prayer, and then apparently they're good to go. And so they wonder, did we miss something crucial? And for some, this is their discomfort with evangelism. Some people are uncomfortable with the ism of evangelism, meaning they don't have a problem with good news, but they feel like in American culture, evangelism has been turned into a production process. It's a method, it's a technique. You say this, you do this, it produces this result. And they look at that all and say, man, that's not any different than an insurance salesman or a used car salesman. And everything about it just makes them feel like they kind of just threw up in their mouth a little bit. And the reason they feel nauseous about evangelism is because they're uncomfortable when things aren't authentic. They're uncomfortable with manipulation. When some people think about evangelism, they think about one or two people who they know or who they knew who were effective at personal evangelism. They had charisma, they had a method down, they had authenticity, they had some kind of special sauce, and they were just incredible individuals to the point that oftentimes the people who had conversion experiences with them came away talking more about what an incredible person they were than about Jesus. So it's possible when you think about evangelism, you think about someone who you're like, wow, they're really incredible at it, but you're thinking, I could never be like that incredible evangelist. For many Christians, the word evangelism makes them feel like a failure as a Christian. Very few Christians are actually effective at personal evangelism. It's been estimated at like 2 or 3% of the population. So when you mention evangelism, a lot of people are saying things like, if evangelism is winning an argument about God in the Bible, I can never remember all those facts. I was never smart enough, or I was never mean enough to win an argument. I don't even like arguing. Or they're saying I never had the charisma or the charm to influence people, so I couldn't play that card. Or I was always too afraid to start a conversation about spiritual things because I didn't know where to take that conversation once it got going. I was too afraid to invite people even to come to church because I was afraid if they said no, then it would make the relationship weird. And so you say the word evangelism, and for a lot of people, they feel like a failure. So for these reasons, and a myriad more, there are a lot of Christians who they don't intentionally practice any kind of evangelism, and there are many non-Christians who hope a Christian won't try to evangelize them. And we could go on and on with the baggage. But let's skip to the hope and to the joy, the perspectives, approaches, reframes that might actually help you enjoy being part of a good news community and figure out what it looks like for you to intentionally practice good newsing. So let's talk about the way that regular people actually come to faith in Jesus. So this next piece is adapted from one of my favorite teachers on evangelism, Brian Ross. Uh, it's how to actually come to faith in 16 easy steps. So, step 1, have dreams. Have dreams and expectations for your life. Successful career, oodles and oodles of friends, plenty of cash in your bank account. an intimate and exciting and fulfilling romantic relationship, getting in shape, and looking fabulous. Those are all dreams. Step 2, have your dreams and expectations crash and burn hard. Either get fired or get stuck in a dead-end job, move to a new town and lack meaningful friendships, face serious financial hardships, or get divorced, or have real marriage struggles, or be single and lonely, encounter your mental health spiraling, or the mental health of a family member spiraling, encounter physical ailments, have your life derail in addiction, struggle with self-image, find yourself questioning the American dream and narratives that the culture told you would satisfy, or better yet, a combination of a few of these. Step 3, feel personally lost. Not religiously lost, no one feels that way, but feel confused, feel the chilly fog of living in the no man's land, of having your lived reality come up woefully short of your dreams and expectations. Feel your self-confidence and assumptions about your life slip through your fingers. Step 4, try to lean on your few drinking buddies or your few cool girlfriends in regard to your confusion and struggles. Discover that they either seem not very interested or that they have very few resources to offer you during a bad time of life. Step 5, meet a coworker or neighbor or one true friend who seems like someone who's easy to talk to and like a person who genuinely cares for you. Dump your problems on them. Feel their encouragement and compassion. Decide that you enjoy hanging with them. Know that they're not perfect. They certainly are not stuffy or uber religious, but really begin to feel safe around their authenticity and genuine kindness. Step 6, get invited by your new friend to visit their church. Say, maybe, I'll think about it. But inwardly think, what? Who would want to do that? But keep hanging with your friend and notice that they don't push God stuff on you. Step 7, experience your life sinking even deeper. Go into debt, suffer in the wasteland of loneliness, recognize that you don't really like yourself too much anymore. Try buying more things, try drinking more, try binge watching more Netflix originals. Feel the dark clouds press in closer. Step 8, finally decide with a dose of fear and some measure of embarrassment to visit your friend's church. After all, it's Christmas, it's Easter, it's a lonely 3-day weekend with nothing else to do. Experience the church as somewhat odd. People seem to really be into the Bible and believe in strange things like miracles. Yet, be surprised by how friendly and real they are. You enjoy the coffee and the relaxed atmosphere. Experience the pastor as rather authentic and honest and fairly easy to understand. Feel yourself not really buying all the God stuff, but recognize that this was a helpful talk about real life. Leave feeling a little better after you left. Find a ray of hope. Step 9, start attending church somewhat regularly. Think to yourself, I don't know about God, but these people are welcoming and kind, and I enjoy being with them. Besides, I'm a little more positive on life after attending somewhat regularly. Step 10, get invited to hang out with some church people one Friday night at someone's home. Be a little nervous, but realize afterwards that there are other decent people out there besides the friend who first invited you. They're not perfect, they have their problems, but they include you and they're fun. They watch the same serial dramas that you do. They enjoy the same bands that you do. Some enjoy the same craft beers that you do. Some are upfront that they're 8 years sober and working hard every day to stay sober. Some are upfront that they don't drink as a way of supporting their sober friends, and some as a matter of conscience. You find all their openness and honesty refreshing. They're normal, but in a better than most normal people kind of way. Step 11, get invited to volunteer at the church, making coffee once a month. Feel rather unsure about this. You're a little leery about committing to anything, but you agree, mainly because they all have been kind to you. Find out that it isn't so bad. Make more friends as you prepare coffee. Step 12. After being involved socially at the church for quite a while, surprise yourself by mentioning God in a conversation with a coworker who's in a bad spot. You consider this and wonder if there's something crazy and weird that's happening with you. Step 13. Stay involved with the church and hanging socially with church people. You realize that you likely wouldn't call yourself a Christian, but you begin praying some on your commute to work. You notice that the buying things you don't have money for and the drinking too much on weekends is less enticing than it used to be. Step 14. Tell your friend that you do now believe that there's a God, that there's someone out there, but that you aren't sure about miracles or that Jesus is God's son. You're surprised that your friend says that it's okay and that they're simply glad that you're their friend and that you're open to spiritual things. Respond that you have doubts about the identity of Jesus, but that you totally dig the things that he said and did. You feel somewhat confused, but enjoy the direction your life is heading in. Step 15. You stay involved with the church formally and socially. Volunteer on your own to feed the homeless on Saturday nights with various church people. You find yourself looking forward to Sunday mornings and increasingly interested in spirituality. Step 16. The pastor says everyone needs to take their time in moving towards Jesus. Move at your own pace, that's fine. But at some point, like in deciding to accept a job offer or deciding to get married, at some point you will need to make a decision to purposefully choose in. You feel like there's so much about the Bible and faith and Jesus that you don't really understand. You feel like there's so much of it that you really don't live out. But in the end, after a season of butterflies and nerves, you decide that you're in. You know you don't have everything together. You know you have lots of doubts. You feel awkward and excited, but you also know this is what you need. You know this is what your heart's been longing for. You go all in. You decide to become a follower of Jesus, a disciple. You commit. You choose to believe that Jesus is alive and raised from the dead. You choose to embrace the God who embraces and forgives all of who you are. You choose to trust that this is just the beginning of a lifetime of learning, growth, and discovering who God created you to be. Does this help you imagine? Does this help you connect with the way that people actually become ready to respond to the Spirit in their life? Does it help you connect with the types of people who it, they are no longer satisfied with the way things are and what is, and they're looking for what could be, and they're searching, they're wondering, what if you could be a part of someone in Tillamook County making this journey? What do they need from you? Or maybe you're listening and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to be a part of that journey because I'm on step 8 in the journey myself, and that's fine. Hopefully, if that's you, hearing this process talked about makes your journey feel respected and supported and authentic for you, wherever it takes you. The best good newsing gift that you can give to your coworkers or your neighbors, your community, is to invite them not only into a friendship with you, but to be a part of a community of Jesus followers to share life. And that's not just awkwardly saying, hey, do you want to come to church with me? It's not just inviting them to a service. It's inviting them into a community of friendships. It's saying, hey, we're doing a roofing project at Jay's house in a couple weeks. Do you want to come be a part of that? Hey, I invited some friends for a barbecue this weekend and would love to have you. Uh, hey, me and a few other people are going to go for a walk on the beach tonight. Would you want to join us? It's that kind of stuff. And it isn't only that they find one friend who's somehow different, it's that they find a group of friends, a community of friends who together help them believe that there's a different life, a different way, a life of following Jesus is possible. And it's the time that they spend being with you and your friends that makes them start thinking, maybe there is something to this Jesus stuff after all. And it's not that you're convincing them of that by, arguing them to that point. It's being with you and the way that this is all processing inside of them. Every time that Jesus called someone to follow him, he called them to community. He called them into relationship with other Jesus followers. In the ancient church, one of the earliest church leaders, Saint Anthony of Egypt, said, "One Christian is no Christian," which is to recognize that good newsing is all about inviting people to be part of the community that follows Jesus. While very few people may be effective at personal evangelism, no matter who you are, you can practice corporate evangelism, which is uh, inviting regular, everyday people into a new network of relationships, a new community of friends. It's inviting them to share life with other Jesus followers. Part of the good newsing gift that you give to your coworkers and your neighbors in this context is giving up acting like someone you're not. It's that you relax into your own spiritual skin, your own spiritual journey, enough to be open about your life of following Jesus and being a disciple of Jesus and living out the words of Jesus, meaning you can be open about your struggles with loving your enemies and how much you want to do that and how hard it is for you. Uh, Being open about doing good things for people who are mean to you and praying for them and forgiving them and being generous to them, being willing to name the progress that's happening and the setbacks, and not being weird about that stuff, but being open about those prayers that you pray on your commute and how you feel like they're helping. It's allowing regular, everyday people to watch you be a disciple of Jesus in all of its messiness and all of its surprising beauty. If the good news is that Christ shows us a better way to be and then gives us the power to become it, it's being honest about your experience with Christ. Brian Zahn says evangelism, good newsing, is doing discipleship with secular people. It's letting go of anxiety about your life enough to notice the gifts of God in their life, to notice their joy, their gratitude, noticing the image of God in them, and then being able to point it out and celebrate it when you see it. It's letting go of all of the anxiety and pressure of needing to change other people and recognizing you are not bringing Jesus to them anyways. And it's not up to you to change them. God is already present in this world. God is already present in their life and in their history, already there. already working way beyond what you can see. And so it's simply celebrating that you get to be a part by offering a context, an environment, a community of Jesus followers where they can experience their own life-changing journey at their own time, their own pace, and not so they can become a clone of you, not so they can become a clone of anyone else, or so that they can change in the way that you think that they're supposed to change. No, it's so they can become who they are with Jesus. So a final discussion question, a reflection question, if you're connecting online, I want to invite you to imagine your own version of this. So imagine you being the kind of friend who invites someone who you actually know right now. So don't put this off in the future. Think about people you actually know. And imagine being the kind of friend who invites those people not just to church services, but into a new community of friends. What about that feels like, man, I really do want to go for it. I want this enough to go for it. And what about that feels like, I'm struggling to think that I could actually do this or would actually do this. Now, as you reflect on this, no beating yourself up, no beating anyone else up. We're all at our own stage in the journey. And for some, corporate evangelism might feel scary. The question is simply there for you to accept and appreciate your honesty and be in the presence of God with your answers right now. Thank you for joining us for a Sunday sermon from Netart's Friends Church. We hope you'll join us soon for one of our in-person worship gatherings. For more information, hop on over to netartsfriends.org. God's peace be with you, friends.